God-level duplication system. Chapter 55. He admitted defeat. Time flies. In a short while, 4 duels had passed. Next match, Lin Xuan vs Yan Ziping. Another match was over and the judge's voice came from the high platform. Everyone's expression changed and they all looked at Lin Xuan. Their eyes sparkled. Although they knew that Lin Xuan would win, it was not impossible for him to enter the top 10, or even the top 3. In the end, they had to wait until they saw it with their own eyes before they could be sure. The new disciples were even more excited and cheered. Although Lin Xuan had extraordinary talent and made it into the top 20, his identity was still that of a new disciple. In the eyes of the new disciples, Lin Xuan was the representative of their new disciples. The higher Lin Xuan's result was in the competition, the better the reputation of their new disciples would be. They were naturally happy and excited. Immediately, under the attention of everyone present, Lin Xuan and another disciple with an ordinary face, Yan Ziping, stepped onto the arena. The competition begins. Deacon Zhang announced. He glanced at Yan Ziping with pity. He was unlucky to have a match with Lin Xuan. From the previous match, he could already tell that Lin Xuan had the strength of at least 3 great warriors of the outer sect. When Yan Ziping confronted Lin Xuan, it could be said that he was bound to lose. It could be said that he was very unlucky. On the opposite side, just as Deacon Zhang had expected, Yan Ziping was in a bad mood. If he chose someone else, he might have a chance of entering the top 10. But against Lin Xuan, he was basically defeated. Especially when Yan Ziping thought about the last match, Lin Xuan severely injured Wang Kui with a single strike. That miserable outcome made his heart tremble. His strength might not even be comparable to Wang Kui's. If even Wang Kui was like this, how could he be any better? When Yan Ziping thought of this, he made a decision. Immediately, he cupped his hands and said, "Senior brother Lin, you are very strong, but I am not as strong as you. I admit defeat in this match." After saying that, Yan Ziping jumped off the arena and walked towards the crowd. In Yan Ziping's opinion, he would lose anyway, and would not be able to enter the top 10. It was not bad for him to have a reward of 100 contribution points for the top 20. If he tried to be brave, not only would it not bring him any benefits, but he would also suffer injuries all over his body. It would take him a few months to recover, and he would not be able to increase his strength. That would be a huge loss for him. In comparison, he naturally knew how to choose. On the other hand, when the crowd saw this, they were stunned, unable to react in time. Yan Ziping admitted defeat, just like that in the competition between the top 20. Was he joking? A few breaths later, everyone came back to their senses, and the crowd once again became noisy. To make a top 20 ranked expert of the outer sect, who was at least at the peak of the Qi gathering stage, admit defeat, this was a treatment that even the top 3 of the outer sect might not be able to enjoy. Lin Xuan, this new disciple, had actually done such a thing. This really surprised everyone. Everyone couldn't understand. Lin Xuan was only at the beginner level for a month. Was he really that powerful? It would be a disgrace to admit defeat at the outer sect competition. The disciples of the outer sect had only come from the secular world for a few years at most. They still attached great importance to their reputation. Therefore, very few people would admit defeat in the competition. Even if they knew that they were going to lose, they would still fight and display their martial arts abilities. But today, a disciple actually admitted defeat. Moreover, he was one of the top 20 disciples of the outer sect, a peak Qi gathering stage warrior. This was unacceptable to all the disciples. However, soon, someone mentioned the last match. After Wang Kui was seriously injured and sent flying, everyone gradually understood what had happened. So that's how it was. Yan Ziping was frightened by Wang Kui's tragic outcome. Although Lin Xuan was a new disciple, he didn't show any mercy when he attacked. It could be seen from his previous performance. Every opponent of his was seriously injured. It was common for them to be seriously injured. Although the martial arts world was incomparably cruel, it could easily kill people, and a disagreement could lead to a life and death battle. However, these disciples of the outer sect came from the secular world, and they were all well protected by their respective powers, and were sent to their respective sects. They had never truly experienced the cruelty of a battle. These were all things they had heard from various channels. Thus, when they fought, they would not truly be ruthless. There was basically no one in the outer sect who was as cruel and merciless as Lin Xuan. Therefore, they dared to fight even if they encountered the top 3 of the outer sect and did not admit defeat. However, they had no choice but to admit defeat when it came to a ruthless person, like Lin Xuan. When the disciples thought of this, they understood why Yan Ziping admitted defeat. However, the way they looked at Lin Xuan couldn't help but show some respect. Even some of the disciples who wanted to get close to Lin Xuan were scared back. On the high platform, Grand Elder and Shu Anlan's eyes fell upon Lin Xuan. Their expressions were indifferent, and there was even a hint of appreciation on their faces. The path of martial arts was a cruel path to fight against the heavens, earth, and people. One's life could be in danger at any time. Hence, being ruthless was a necessary quality for a martial artist. If they could not even do this, it would be even more impossible for them to become powerful martial artists. And Lin Xuan, a new disciple, could already do it. This made Grand Elder feel gratified. He was more and more optimistic about Lin Xuan. As for the other disciples of the outer sect, they were still too naive. Do you think that they will let you go just because you are kind to them? This is a world where people eat people. A true martial arts powerhouse would only grow up by stepping on the corpses of countless other martial artists. With their mentality, even if they left the sect, they probably wouldn't live long either. It seemed that they would have to assign more tough training missions in the future, letting these disciples of the outer sect go out and temper themselves. They would have to experience true cruelty and erase their naivety. Otherwise, they would die if they went out after being nurtured by the sect for such a long time. Wouldn't the sect suffer a great loss? It would be a waste of their resources and efforts. On the arena, referee Deacon Zhang announced, Lin Xuan has won this match. He has advanced to the top 10. When Lin Xuan heard this, he jumped off the arena and walked towards the area where the top 20 disciples were. He was also a little surprised that Yan Ziping had admitted defeat. However, as long as he could enter the top 10 and obtain the energy points, he would be fine. He was too lazy to pay so much attention to it. When Lin Xuan returned to the crowd, he could feel that many of the disciples around him were rejecting him. They took the initiative to distance themselves from him as if he were some wild beast. Lin Xuan also sneered at this. He was used to it. Lin Xuan listened to the discussions around him. He already understood what was going on. However, he didn't care. Anyway, he had the system with him. He could continuously copy all kinds of treasures and quickly increase his strength. He wouldn't be able to stay in the outer sect for long before he could enter the inner sect, so he didn't have to worry about the feelings of others. In fact, he might not even be able to stay in the Drifting Cloud sect for a few months. He wanted to leave the Drifting Cloud sect, Kangyuan country, or even the Xiang zone as soon as possible. He needed to increase his strength at full speed so that he could find Lin Xian faster. As for the other aspects, he could not care about them.